Are we on? Huh? Is this thing on? All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the basement. This is my worm colony. For now, this is just a couple of tubs. I'll explain what's going on in here. These are composting worms. And I don't know if you'll see any or not. Let's get in here. It looks really gross. Well, it's because it is really gross. Worms are kind of gross creatures, but that's all right. Let's see. We can get in here to the light. This is all kitchen scraps. This is, oh, there's some little worms. See any of those and zoom in there, and there's one. Set for stun. It's dark down here, and they don't like the light. They disappear pretty quickly. In fact, you can use their dislike of the light to separate worms occasionally if you're doing that. This is Icenia fetidus red wiggler composting worm. This once upon a time was all kitchen scraps. Down here at the bottom is all, well, it's basically worm poop, worm castings. There is no richer soil on the planet than worm castings. This stuff can be used as a soil amendment. This stuff can be used directly as a planting medium. You can top dress your garden plants with it. You can top dress your potted plants with it. And everything in here is, or was, kitchen scraps and paper. They like the paper as bedding, but as that rots, they will also be eating the paper and turning the paper itself into soil amendment. A pound of worms, which is right around 1,000 worms or so. I'm not going to count them. You're not going to count them. But 1,000 worms will go through a half a pound of kitchen scraps a day. This size container will hold, oh, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 worms. 1,000 will generally take up about a square foot of space, and they always stay in the top 3 inches. So the worms come up as the container fills up. The cool thing about that is I can take a second container when the colony's about this high with kitchen scraps, set my new container on top of this, and the worms will migrate into the new container. Once it gets about halfway full, you can remove this bottom container, set it down on the collection bin down here in the bottom. I'll tell you about that in a second. And then all of this middle container is fresh worm castings that can be used, like I said earlier, for top dressing your plants. And you can also use this to make compost tea. That was the reason why I got worms to start with. I'll show you the bottom of this thing. You have to keep this wet, and there is some drainage that comes out of this. There's a liquid fertilizer down here in the bottom of this. That's what I have the spigot for. Maybe you saw that earlier. The spigot down there is so that you can drain the liquid worm castings into a 5-gallon bucket. It's rich liquid fertilizer. In fact, you've got to cut it 20 parts water to 1 part worm fertilizer if you're going to spray it on your garden. You can also use this stuff, like I said, as an ingredient in compost tea. Let's see, the worms will multiply. Now, they regulate their own population, but they multiply every 90 days and will double. They never have too much because, like I said, they self-regulate their population. But coming up here on the 6th, I will separate this colony into 2 colonies and have 2 of these bins working so I can get rid of even more coffee grounds, paper, kitchen scraps, with the exception that no citrus because it burns their skin, it's too acidic, pineapple's too acidic, but potato scraps, carrots, anything else like that that we go through in the process of making food for ourselves, the worms eat. And oh, one of the questions I get asked is there a smell? Ew, stinky. No, there's no smell, and here's why not. The worms eat the rotting bacteria on the surface of the food, so it never has a chance to smell. They don't eat the food, they eat the bacteria. That's kind of cool. So as they're eating that, they're turning it into worm castings, worm poop, finest soil amendment on the planet. That's for you, Eric. Bye.